everybody. Welcome to Bingo. I'm Sandy, and I brought with me Rob.
Hi.
Rob is the Mr. Sorcerer of WikiTree. You designed and created the Sorcerer app that I know most of us use. Some of us are still new to your app. So what Rob's going to do is demo it for us and show us right from the beginning how to use it. So welcome.
Oh, thank you. And yeah, I'm happy to answer people's questions. And
that's a good point. So if you guys have questions, even though Rob's going to be talking and demoing the app here, feel free, continue asking your questions. We'll make sure that they get answered. And if for any reason we miss any, we will answer them afterwards on the G2G post that we have for this particular show. But we're really good about making sure that we get all of them answered. This is a jam-packed hour. It will probably go a little over, especially with questions. And if you guys want Rob to demo something or show something specific, drop it in the chat. If you need them to go over it again or explain something again, drop it in the chat and let us know. I have put the Sorcerer app webpage in the chat, and also the first bingo card is there. So if you have multiple screens, bring up that bingo card now. We will play that in about 20-ish minutes. But what I want to do is I want to bring up the screen and let Rob kind of drive the demo here. So what are we looking at, Rob?
Okay, so this is the free space page for WikiTree's Sorcerer. So it's a good place to go if you have any questions about WikiTree's Sorcerer. There's these links along the top. So there's a user guide, release notes, frequently asked questions, and so on. So in terms of what WikiSorcerer is, it's actually a browser extension. So it's actually different from a WikiTree app. WikiTree apps are programs that are hosted on the WikiTree site, whereas browser extensions you install into your browser from one of the stores like Chrome store or Firefox. So they're a little different. And it focuses, the main reason I built Sorcerer was I kind of got frustrated with having to manually write citations all the time for my sources, and trying to make user consistent. If you're manually writing them, it's hard to be consistent every time with the way you format them. So the number one thing was building a citation, but then I added the ability to search sites. Part of my reasoning was I was coming from Ancestry, so I was used to just being able to click the search Ancestry button and then find a source and add the source. So I was trying to make it a bit more like that on WikiTree for me.
And I will tell you, I really appreciate it. I tend to transpose numbers a lot. I don't know why. I'm really good with almost everything else but numbers. So when we were doing it manually, I would have to go back. I'd have to go back and forth to make sure I had the dates right. And now I don't have to do that because I have Sorcerer. And Rob and I were talking before we started Bingo. You actually introduced this right before. It was either a Connect-a-thon or a Source-a-thon. I want to say it was a Source-a-thon. And I was part of Team Virginia. We introduced it to our other members of our team for I really do think it was Source-a-thon. And we all fell in love instantly with it. That was about 2 years ago. And it was, then we thought it was the greatest thing since sliced bread in a toaster. Now you've increased it with so much more goodness that we're amazed by it. So, and I do want to point out that Rob has made this available on different browsers and different platforms. So if you're on a PC, you could use it. If you're on a Mac, you can use it. It does cost slight little charge for Apple products, but just so you know, Rob's not trying to be a millionaire off this. Apple charges him. Yeah. So that's all the reason why Apple cost to have the Sorcerer app. Apple charges him. So we're just trying to get this at a net zero for Rob.
Yeah, so you can run it on a Mac in Chrome or Firefox, and that's free. But if you want to use Safari, then there's a $5 charge to install it. And if you want to use it on iOS, Safari is really your only option for extensions. So this part of the page here, if you scroll down on Sourcer page. It describes how to install it for the different ones. And the Chrome version will run on a lot of different things, including Edge, the Microsoft browser, and a bunch of other ones. And there's also one called Kiwi, which people use on Android tablets. So it's pretty much everywhere, unless you've got like a Kindle Fire or something that you can run it on. There's a video.
That's a good point. I didn't think to ask you that earlier. The Kindle Fire has its own unique environment too, so you can use that as well on a Fire.
Well, no, that's saying that's pretty much the only thing you can't.
Oh, the only thing you can't. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I was like, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, Kindle
Coming
Fire.
soon.
The Kindle Fire does use Android, but it doesn't support extensions as far as I can tell. I think you can like jailbreak your Kindle Fire and install Kiwi or something like that. But I don't know if anyone's done that. So one way to learn more about Sourcer is to watch the video I made on YouTube, which kind of goes through it. It's about half an hour long. It tries to go through all the features. It's probably a more coordinated demo than what I'm going to be able to do right now.
But we get to ask you questions, and that's the benefit of this. So, Susan, what you might want to do, Rob is really great about responding to any questions or tech questions you have with it. So Susan mentioned she tried to install it on her Safari browser, but couldn't. If you reach out to Rob after this, he is so great about walking through and seeing where something's not working and maybe how to fix it. And I agree with Hillary. I use Kiwi on my Android, my Safari tablet. Love it. It works just as easy and just as fast as the desktop.
Yeah, I have it running in Safari, but I don't know if I can demo that right now. But one thing's a little weird about the Safari version is you have to buy it from the App Store, and then that downloads an app which you run, and the app then puts the extension into Safari, and then it automatically brings up the page where you turn the extension on. So it may be that it just never got turned on in Safari for you.
That would be a good easy fix then.
So there's a bunch of different sites I support. So I just clicked on that link. So there's the ones that, across lots of countries, like Ancestry, Family Search, Find My Past, the like big one.
And you just added a few.
Yeah. So then for different countries, like there's Australia newspapers, there's a bunch of other Australian sites that I could eventually get around to adding. Commonwealth War Graves, which was added by Colin Thompson. So I should mention, it's a good point, time to mention, this is an open source project. So if you have programming experience and there's a site you want to add that I'm not going to get to for a while, I can work with you to help you add it yourself to the project. I just recently added the 3 Irish sites here. That was like a couple of weeks ago. And another programmer added Polish site. Okay, so probably best to dive in.
And when we talk about dive in, I asked Rob if he would do me a favor with tonight and start with somebody who struggles a little bit with WikiTree, understanding the wiki code, understanding also maybe what a true source is. Some people will just put as a source, I heard it from my father, or this is a family story that was told to me. And unfortunately, the profile person lived in the 1500s. So we know that's not a source. Right. So when we say source, or what I want ask Rob to do is bring us from the very beginning, someone who doesn't know WikiTree and how to kind of edit and use the wiki code. I'm talking mostly inline sourcing, but also doesn't maybe know what we expect from a source. Right. And with those two things, this is where Rob's going to start off. I'm clueless. Where do I start, Rob? I'm new to this. I don't get it. Where do I start?
Yeah, so I have a WikiTree profile here. This one I actually have sources on, but I can still use it to demo, to search and add new sources, or how I added sources. So the first thing I wanted to show was the search. Well, probably before that, I should show this up in the top right here where I'm pointing, there's this 1 in square brackets. So that's the icon for WikiTree's sourcer. So it's pretty subtle. It's everything's done through this menu. And the instructions tell you how to make sure this icon shows up once you've installed it. So what you do is, from any web page, you can click on this and it brings up a pop-up menu. And the first things on the menu are about searching. This menu is very configurable. You can control how many different sites it shows to search on. You can, if you don't have an Ancestry subscription, you can turn that off. And then it's also dependent on the country. So this is an English profile. So it shows a bunch of UK sites to search, which wouldn't show up if you were looking at a US profile, for example. And then, so this, in some ways, this search ability is like root search on the WikiTree page, but it's a little more advanced in that you can just say search Ancestry. I can show you what that does. So that,
and I will say, I don't use root search anymore. I go straight to sourcer. So I click on that little icon, that green icon that has the 1, and I pick what I'm looking for. In what particular program, family search, Ancestry, for example. So Rob brought up Ancestry right here. Did you notice he didn't type in anything? He didn't type in names, dates, all that data. So if you went to Ancestry from scratch right now, you would have to type in the name, you'd have to type in the location, you'd have to type in dates and so on just to get a decent search. He didn't do any of that. All he did is go up to that 1. He clicked Ancestry from the page, from the profile page he wanted information for, and boom.
Yeah. So, and then that finds a bunch of records, which you could then use to create citations. But just to go back to where I was. So there's this little thing here, which maybe some people don't notice, this little greater than symbol to the right of search Ancestry. And that brings up a submenu. So if you don't want to just search Ancestry, everything in Ancestry at once, you could search for a specific collection. So you could search for a civil births, deaths, if there's a particular thing you're looking for. There's only certain collections that Sourcer knows about currently, but these are the ones it knows about. And you notice it's only showing the census up to 1871 because it knows that this guy died. There's a little leeway given, but this person died in 1869. So it won't show you the 1881 census and the ones after that.
So it has a little bit of smart capabilities built in. It's not going to lead you down this primrose path of there's a guy with the name that's similar, could be a cousin, could be a nephew, could be a child that was born older. It's not going to give you a lot of that data that just doesn't apply to this person because he's already passed on. Now, we do have one good question here. What about MyHeritage?
Yeah, it's on my list. It's going to be another big one because they have so many collections. So, it'll be like adding Ancestry or Find My Past. But I do have a subscription to that now. So I've been meaning to look at that. I just don't get that many requests for it because I don't know how many people really use MyHeritage for searching for records. But if you want it, keep shouting out, and it might bubble to the top of my list.
So that's a good point. So for all of you that's here today and anybody who watches this afterwards, there is a G2G post that's on this particular bingo. You can also mention it on the Sourcer page. If Rob finds an overwhelmingly amount of people want a search engine for Sourcer and a citation maker for Sourcer from one particular area or one particular source, MyHeritage, or maybe a different country has a source, then let them know.
Yeah. Okay. So talking about search more. So let's go to a female profile. So this is the wife of the person I was looking at. Now, when you search for records for this person, if you're looking at their baptism, you might want to search for their maiden name. But if you want census records, some of them would be in the married name. So that's another thing. That's just staying with Ancestry. There's this third parameter here, search with specified parameters, which brings up another level. and that lets you choose, which of the names, Hampson or Wolstenholme. So you, without typing anything in, you can decide all this stuff. Like, I just want to search for censuses, and
We're not seeing that extra screen you're talking about, I don't think. Do you have a different screen that shows us how to pick just
okay.
the birth or the...
Oh, so yeah, something's not working in that you're not seeing the menu at all. So I think it's because I'm showing a window rather than
Yeah.
Unfortunately, if I share the screen, that is going to make everything smaller. Yeah, a little glitch there, but we need that. So let me stop sharing this, if we can fix this problem.
And while he's doing that, I want to also mention to you that he's using Ancestry, but it does work for the other databases that Rob has built in. So, for example, Family Search. I know a lot of you use Family Search. The same procedure. You're on a profile you want to find more information about. All you do is click on that green one on your toolbar, and it will go and look for the sources and the documents and the profile pages for that particular person. Okay. Yeah, I think you added Find My Past. That one is in Sorcerer, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've shared my screen. Is that readable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So now if I click on this, you can see.
There we go.
Okay. So when I was talking about this little greater than sign that you couldn't see, it's this thing here. So, okay. So you guys probably missed a bit, but yeah, these are the search items, and then there's other options too. And what I was talking about are these different options here to search a specific collection, like specific censuses, or this is here where I was talking about the search with specific parameters. So it'll let you choose whether to use the maiden name or the married name. And it'll let you search for specific things, like saying I want to search for a birth with just baptisms with the maiden name.
And keep in mind, the more that you narrow this down, you might not get a lot of hits or any, even depending on the names. We were talking about this earlier today in our Discord chat, that names are spelled differently as well. So keep that in mind. The search engines do try to pick up different variations, but they're not always perfect with it.
Yeah. So, for example, so this found a baptism, which looks like the right person. So one thing, so I've just been searching from a WikiTree profile. But one thing this does is it also lets you search from any of the supported sites. So if I wanted to try and find this same baptism on Family Search, I could do that just by saying search Family Search from the Ancestry record. And that finds the christening. So if you said, I've got it on Ancestry, but I'd like to cite the one on Family Search, it'll do that for you.
Now, I think what you just did, that was so quick, but I think what you did, you were in Ancestry and you used Sorcerer to go to Family Search.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind, that this Sorcerer app isn't just one way, WikiTree to here or to here or to here. He now even gave us options to go from Ancestry to Family Search to try and find information. And you could do the backwards. You go Family Search to Ancestry. You could go from Ancestry to Find My Grave, for example. Or a lot of times I noticed recently, Family Search is not putting in the Find a Graves. So you could be in Family Search and say, I know there's a Find a Grave for this person, and then click that. The searches are amazing. And so if you're new and you're not sure where to start to find a source, if you have an Ancestry membership, that's a great place. And the cool thing about this, and we'll talk after our first bingo card game, we're going to add citations, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But the cool thing is Ancestry is not the easiest program for creating citations.
Right.
Family Search is a little bit easier, but Rob will give us that capability. So again, we'll talk about that after the first bingo card. But just think about this, especially if those of you help mentor new people, if you're project leader that's watching now and you've got new people coming in to WikiTree itself and you're not really sure how to mentor them, I always say Sorcerer. I always say Sorcerer and give them the link to your video, your about 20-minute video, and it works like a charm.
Okay. So yeah, like you were saying, you can basically with Sorcerer, any supported site, you can search, but from that site to every other site. So, and even back to WikiTree. So now we've gone.
That's true. You can't go back to WikiTree. And I just want to point out, Kathy mentioned that it is available for PCs and Macs.
Yeah, it's based on what browser you use. So if you use like whatever browser you use on the PC, it probably works in that, like Chrome, Firefox, Safari, Opera, Vivaldi, a bunch of them.
And then, Carol, to put the one on your toolbar, that's just an option to do so.
Yeah, so basically, once you've installed the extension in Chrome, then there's this little puzzle piece icon here. So this might not show up by default. It doesn't show up. It's not pinned, but you click here, it shows you all your extensions you've got installed. And if you click this little pin next to the Sorcerer, I can do it. So you can see it's made my icon go away now. I don't have a one in brackets, but if I click it again, it comes back. So if that's pinned, that's what makes you have this icon up here.
And you got that through that little puzzle piece. So that's easy to do. And I love Hillary's example too, that I often search in one website and then find it in another, although sometimes I have to revise the search and find my past. This is a great example too of not all the databases. They might have the same exact source, but not all the databases handle it the same. So you might need to kind of finagle it a little bit and work it.
Yeah, that's true. I find that also. I should probably tweak that a bit. But so if I'm looking at a census, for example, against this 1871 census here, I can go to the Ancestry record here. And what Hillary's talking about is I could go to find my past, and I can say search for the same collection. So it'll search the 1871 census for this same person. And often this fails to start with because I think I put too much information in. Oh, that one worked. But often it fails just because the exact location is put in or the registration district, and it adds all this information like which page number or piece number. I did this because, if you're working on something like John Smith, it can be hard to find the same record. And especially sometimes family search, or if you're going find my past, it might have a different name in the, it could be a typo in the transcription, but if you search for the exact piece number and folio, it'll find it exactly. So that was a case where it worked, but I often find, like Hillary, that I have to start removing things to get it to actually find it.
Well, for me, I'd rather have too much information and then start slowly removing. And then that way it doesn't give me, like you said, for the John Smiths, I get pages and pages and pages to go through, and that's a waste of time. The Sorcerer was designed to save us a tremendous amount of time. It does. Trust me, it saves a lot of time.
So let's see, we were looking at
well, let's go into, is that now a good time to go into the first bingo card before we jump over then to
maybe I was going to try adding a say. Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Well, if you got something you want to show, feel free.
Well, I was just going to show adding a citation, but that could take a while.
Let's do that afterwards. Let's separate the thought. Okay, so if everybody has your bingo card up, what we're going to do is play a round of bingo. We have 2 bingo games per bingo session. And let me bring this up. I'm going to share my screen real quick. Bingo number 1. Okay, and the rules for bingo are really pretty simple. If you've ever played bingo before in your life, you'll recognize these rules. You can get bingo by having straight across, horizontally, vertically, or diagonally. And both of these cards have a free space in the middle. It's a little graphic. And so go ahead with your mouse and click that free space right now. And that'll show you how to click on the words. as we call them. As we call the words, these are words that Rob has actually given me, so he will explain them. I will say bingo, this part of bingo goes very, very fast. So this is one of those things, if you see the word, click on it as fast as you can, because we want to load up this particular bingo with Rob in demoing. Okay, so and then to win bingo, the first person who says bingo in the chat, and you all laugh at me a lot of times because I will continue talking about the bingo word. So, make it loud. If you got to say it twice, feel free, say it twice. But the first person who says bingo in the chat is the bingo winner. If 5 of you won on your card, it's whoever says it first in the chat that actually wins. And this is our 6-month anniversary. So I was thrilled to have the programmers with us. I was thrilled to have Greg earlier and Rob today, because it just seems fitting that as we're getting into the second half of bingo, the second half of the year, we've got a connect-a-thon and a source-a-thon coming up. What better time to talk about the apps as well as Sorcerer? So if everybody's ready, let's start bingo. So source, I think everybody knows that WikiTree does require a source, and it needs to be a real source, not just says because my mom said so. And after we're done with this particular bingo card, Rob's going to show us how to make that source complete and easy. Pop-up. Now, why did you give us pop-up?
Well, that's what I was just showing you with the menu, the pop-up menu in Sourcer. So everything in Source is driven through the pop-up menu from the little one icon.
An update.
An update is just I produce updates to the extension regularly, and it should automatically, if you have it set up to automatically update, you'll get the new version in your browser automatically. How
many times this year have you updated?
It's usually about once a month, but it can be more often.
And I will share with you guys, so this started about 2 years ago. And Rob says he puts in about 30 hours a week into this app. Mm-hmm. So keep in mind that Rob is sitting here creating this app for us. I thank you. This is amazing that you've created it and you put so much of your free time into it. And we talked about Safari, and I definitely want to have you mention again a couple of things that, and let me see if I get this right. So if you want to use Sorcerer in Safari, which is the Apple browser,
yeah,
you can. You can also use it in Chrome for Apple.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, on Mac you can use it in Chrome or Firefox as well.
And if you are, well, you will be charged from the Apple Store a small fee. And again, that's not so Rob can, drive a Ferrari up and down the country. It's because Apple charges him.
Yeah. And also I had to buy a brand new Mac last month because Apple's pretty insistent on to release anything to the Apple Store, you have to be using the latest Xcode, and my 10-year-old Mac wasn't up to it anymore.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, there's no way getting around their rules. Okay, Burial, and this kind of talks about also bringing in sources, but also searching. Like you just search for Ancestry, you can search on Find a Grave.
Yeah. So this Burials is like one of the different source types, really.
And I will let everybody know something that I've noticed with this, with Sorcerer and Burial for Connect-a-thons. You want to know how people get it so quick and so many profiles using Sorcerer on Find a Grave to get into WikiTree. Okay, version.
So yeah, there's a version number which is shown in the extensions. So often I'll ask people if they have a bug, are you running the latest version of WikiTree Sorcerer? The current version is 1.7.0.
And again, from that puzzle piece, you can get to that information as well with the options, and it'll show you baptism. And I've never really thought until you showed us a few minutes ago that you can narrow down the sources.
Yeah, baptisms, or I guess can be called christenings in England.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, Sorcerer is a browser extension. I kind of went over that, but a lot of people call it an app. And I guess in the general sense of things, you could think of it as an app because it's a program, but it's different to a WikiTree app.
And I think we'll mention again, the reason why it works on so many different systems is because it is an extension.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it makes it easier for you to do. Oh,
Yeah.
we got a bingo.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I don't even know how to pronounce your name, but I'm going to say congratulations all the same. Skis, maybe Skis. If you could do me a favor and drop your WikiTree ID number in there, then I can make sure that you are recorded as winning bingo. But congratulations. And I appreciate that you put it all in caps too, so I could see it as well. Now let me tell you how to get your prize. Let me remove this. Okay, so to get your prize, you're going to email Eowyn and tell her that you won bingo with Rob. She'll know exactly what that means. She will get you the information to the store, the WikiTree store, and you'll have up to $30 to spend on WikiTree branded content. There's tote bags, there's hats, there's short sleeve shirts, long sleeve shirts, and you know I'm going to do it. There's the bingo mug, the infamous bingo mug, which, by the way, is the #1 best-selling item in the WikiTree store. So, and if, oh, I should mention, everybody tells me to mention this. If you want the all black one, make sure that you tell them the all black with the black handle, because I think there's a multicolored one out there as well. So many congrats. That's awesome. Thank you so much. And actual name is Phil. Okay, congratulations, Phil. I appreciate it. Phil, you are a WikiTreeer or are you not? Because this is something else that I'm not sure that people know. You do not have to be a WikiTreeer to win a prize. So you can invite your mama, your brother, your sister, your kid. I think Kathy invited her daughter, and her daughter won. So you can, and I told Carol to invite her whole neighborhood to WikiTree bingo. So congratulations, Phil. Oh, that's great. From New Zealand. I love how global we are. This is really, really cool. Okay, so let's continue on. Now that we know we can search from Sorcerer from anywhere, really. I was going to say from WikiTree, but that's not so. It's from anywhere. You can search from Ancestry, Find My Past. Can you search from there as well, from Find My Past? Or is it?
Yeah, any supported site, you can search from it and to it.
So now that we know how to search, and so if you're brand new and you're not sure what to do, you entered in all the data, you saved your profile, it's unsourced. Now you know where to search. You can search using the drop down, the pop up. Let's see how we find a citation. So let's have Rob take us through, how do I find a source?
Yeah, okay. Well, since we're going to show adding citations, that may be easiest if I just create a new profile first, and then I can add some citations to it. So I have this guy here, and he only has one child currently, but I know that on my Ancestry, I have more children. So I actually have a link to the Ancestry profile here. So this is the same person on Ancestry. And there's a child here who I've researched a bit. His son, Peter. So what I'd like to do is add a profile for Peter Wolstenholme as a son of Joseph. So using the pop-up menu, there's this thing called Save Person Data.
And if you guys do connect-a-thons, this is how you do it.
Yeah. So this is similar functionality to the old WikiTree X, if you've used that. So I've saved the person data. So now I go back to Joseph here. I can go into edit mode. I can say I want to add a child. And so this is using the new add profile flow, which complicated things a bit, but it should work now.
Well, and now I need to interrupt again. So for those of you that were using WikiTree X, that no longer works with the new system, the only way to do this quickly and easily And as I like to say, without transposing numbers or letters or anything like that, is through Rob's sorcerer, just like he's showing.
Yeah. So here, it's asking you to enter all the information. So because we saved the person data, we can set the fields from the person data, and it tells you this is what you saved from. Just so you don't do the wrong one, this is what's saved from Peter Wolstenholme 50 seconds ago. So I've updated the field, so it's put in the name, the birth date, birth location, death location, so on. Continue, and it asks if it's the right, if that's the spouse of Joseph is the mother, which it is, so we'll leave that checked. And you can see it's automatically generated the field. Peter was the son of Joseph Wolstenholme and Alan Hampson. Put in the links, and it's also put in a link to the Ancestry tree we created it from. So we'll go ahead and do that. So now we've got this new profile. We can preview it. You can see it's pretty empty. It just has that one intro line and a C also, which is not a great source. Generally, linking to an Ancestry profile is not considered a great source.
No, but I love it. And it'll also do the same for the other programs. Like, for example, Family Search, it'll leave that there. And the reason why I love it is sometimes we'll leave one source, sometimes we'll leave multiple sources, but we're very visual people. Genealogists really like to look at big pictures, and it's a benefit to click on that link to go and look at a tree as well as you're analyzing and researching. So I love that you automatically added that. And I go back again to what we talked about at the beginning. If you're a newbie and you don't know all the little curly Q templates, Rob does, and he put it in there for us.
Yeah. So now we can go to adding a citation. So this is a pretty minimal profile. If we go back to the Ancestry one, you can see we have like a bunch of different censuses. We have baptism, death registration, and so on. So let's say we want to add, let's do it in order. We'll say we'll add the baptism. So you can bring this up. You could go and view the record, but you don't have to. It'll do it for you if you don't. And you're given these choices. So there's 3 choices. You can build just an inline citation. You could build a narrative with an inline citation, or you could build a source citation. So a lot of people don't use inline citations, so they start off by using source citations. I could show you that as an example.
And for a lot of us that work with people who are new to WikiTree, I don't even touch the inline citation comment until much later. I would rather they just at least put a source there, just like Rob did. So all he did is go to that record and went back to his little one icon that you see there, and you click Save Source. And that's what it automatically creates, that bullet item, which is the asterisk. I love that it also bolds it so that little bit so you can see it.
And that's an option. Yeah. So there's a ton of different options. So this is probably a good time to mention options. On the pop-up menu, there's an options here. And there's hundreds of options. So they're separated into these 6 groupings. So we're creating citations at the moment. And then for each within citation, there's options for every different site, but there's also general options. And so Sandy was talking about the label. So that is, it's the very first one. Do you want a label at the start of each source or citation? You can say no label, put in normal text, bold text, or italic text. So what we've got set is bold text. So that's why it added this bold label. Some people don't like them. I find that they make it a little more readable for me.
They are, especially if you start adding more and more sources. So a lot of people will add a birth, a marriage, maybe a military, and a death. There's pretty manageable. But if you start getting into multiple sources, those bolded really help. And when you go into those options, when you first go up to that first page, keep in mind that each option, you're going to click on that drop down.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're looking through all the options, if you didn't see this, you may not realize how many more options there actually are.
And I love that you have it where we can have the full birth, an actual sentence of the birth and the death. So when I look at a profile, I see it instantly in text, not only just above as a date.
Right. So
And you also give us a lot of information. You know what? This is really cool that I don't think people realize either. If you create a new profile from scratch, let's say not connected, just a brand new profile from scratch, what he does is he also pulls that information, and if it's listed on Ancestry, Find a Grave, Find My Pets, wherever, if the parents are listed there, you pull that in for us.
yeah.
And also give us that text. Now, it's not going to have a link like it does here. He already has the parents in.
Yeah.
But sometimes just having the parents' names kind of pulled in as well is so handy for researchers.
Yeah. And one thing to bear in mind is, and it's easy to get carried away with Saucer because it makes everything so easy. I sometimes have to slow myself down and say, yeah, this is just a starting point. Like if, for example, if someone married twice, this will put in a label of marriage. But I would, if I'm doing a good job on a profile, I might edit that to say second marriage or first marriage.
Yeah.
Or marriage to Ellen. So it's just a starting point. And you might also think like this happens to be what Ancestry puts for the description of the source, but all this information here is probably a bit unnecessary. So I would probably keep that.
And I have to agree with Nancy. I do like that all the text is there, so somebody in the future can understand it, even if they don't have an Ancestry account. The reason why I like this comment so much is right now, and hopefully forever, the link that Rob creates automatically, again, all he did was go up to the one, his icon for his program when he was at Ancestry, and he said that he wanted the source data. He didn't type in names, dates, because he's already there at the profile. It copies it when you click that, and then he pastes it here. Ancestry is very, very challenging to create a citation from scratch. It's not easy, but he has designed it so it automatically has that free, and I'll say it again, free share link.
Yeah.
There.
So that's you can see this has this one I created a source for has an image. So an image Ancestry has this idea of sharing links. So someone's asking before about it would be nice if you could access paid sites for free. Well, with Ancestry you can, in that if I open this link, it brings up this sharing link, and anyone can actually view this. You don't have to be a subscriber of Ancestry. They have recently changed it to make it so that you can't just click on this and make it bigger, which makes it pretty hard to read. But Saucer can fix that for you.
See, this is a miracle. This is just a miracle extension.
So even though you don't have a subscription to Ancestry, you can go to full size image, and it'll give you that. You can zoom in and read the whole thing.
Show us one more time how you did that.
Okay, so where was I? Okay, so I go to the sharing link, and then I do the Saucer menu, go to full size sharing image page, and it brings it up, and then the icon will zoom in and out.
So keep in mind that if you didn't have the Sorcerer app, you're only going to see that tiny image, which could be difficult to read, especially if it's in old script handwriting. But he built in this functionality that all you got to do is show a fuller image. And as you mentioned, your normal, zoom in and out with your mouse. Does it also do the pinch if you're on a touch?
Probably. Yeah.
There we go. That's perfect.
Trackpad.
And you would not be able to do that normally without using the Sorcerer app. So, and for those of you that do not have an Ancestry account and do not pay, I have noticed a lot of times in the general Discord chat, somebody will say, hey, can you find this record for me and put it on a profile? And they'll give you the profile. And I see a lot of people that do have the Ancestry membership will go out, click on it, find it,
Yeah.
use sourcer for the citation, and drop it into the profile for those that may not have a paid membership.
Yeah, so if you're on Discord, for example, and someone says, can someone look at this image on Ancestry and send me a link, then you could do it through Ancestry by clicking like share. I guess they've made this a lot easier now.
It doesn't give you the perfect, yeah, and that'll give you, like, that's what I would use if I want somebody to create a better source link, because Rob gives us the whole package, and that's kind of what we're talking about, Stephen. So you can definitely view, share info as long as Ancestry lets us, I should say. I assume this will always be a feature that they will let us see a free share link. It won't give you all the data, but it'll give you a lot. But you cannot create unless you're a member of Ancestry. But again, I want to point out that if you ever need a record off Ancestry, definitely go into Discord's general chat. People are doing that all the time. Reach out to people in your project. There's always project members that have it. If you guys ever need an Ancestry link and you can't find it, feel free, reach out to me, probably Rob, reach out to somebody in DM on Discord. I'm more than happy to do a quick sourcer link for you in a paid Ancestry site.
I'm just showing this using Ancestry, but you could use Family Search to do the same thing. So okay, so that was creating a source. So say that was creating just a source, not an inline source. But say I prefer to use inline citations. So what we could do is where were we? Kind of lost the person now. I guess I'll have to go back to my profile. And I think it was.
And while you're looking at that, I just want to point out the difference between what the source that Rob put on the profile. It creates that bullet item. Anytime you want a bullet in WikiTree, and when you're editing a profile, you use the asterisks, and it will convert it to a bullet item. But his sourcer program does that automatically. So if you go and you collect sources, as he's showing you here, there's a lot of sources. The option would be source data. That's the bullet item. Inline is completely different.
So what I normally use is you could use a build inline citation. I typically only do that if I'm doing a second source for the same fact.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm doing the first one for a fact, I would do build narrative by citation. This just saves you a bunch of typing.
And it also provides more information in a bio.
So here, like normally if you're using inline citations, you would have to type in a sentence like, oh, Peter was baptized, and then put this ref, followed by the citation, followed by the close ref. But it will automatically, I put quite a bit of work into like trying to come up with a sentence that works for every single record.
I was going to say, this had to be a challenge, because you had to come up with a kind of more or less common sentence, common words to do.
So yeah, depending on the type of record, which can be hard to figure out for Ancestry because they don't have record types.
And if you could pause real quick. Now, I do know this has been a big question for me throughout the years with inline, that I have people coming in. If you notice, if you are doing an inline source, you have those, what we call ref tags. At the beginning of the source is a ref. At the end of the source is a ref with a slash. Those go above the source header because they are ref tags. And if you notice, right underneath that source line, it says references with a slash. What that references with a slash is saying is there is no more reference tags to look at below me. So anytime you do inlines go above that source header. And the way that he did the source citation previously with that bulleted item, those usually go under where his cursor is flashing right now. Okay, thank you, Rob.
That's why I like to do the narrative with citation because it's obvious that you're just building a biography and you're just sticking the narrative sentences in the biography, and the citations are just coming along with it. So now if we preview that, you can see we have a bit more biography. We've got that narrative line, and then we have the citation. So what I would then do is go back to Peter and say, what's the next thing I want to cite? Well, I've got probably this 1851 census when he was 3 years old. So I'll say build a narrative with citation. It has to actually behind the scenes go and access a bunch of other pages to get that information. But then I would just put that after the baptism.
And again, all he did was go up to the icon that he has for the one. That's his logo for Sorcerer. Clicked on it when he was there looking at a record in Ancestry, and picked narrative with citation, I think it says. Yeah. And that gives him the ref tag and a sentence explaining what that source is, so you don't have to do that. I want to point out another benefit with that sentence. If he has that sentence along with the source, because WikiTree requires sources, that sentence helps future researchers or even ourselves if we go back and review a profile. But it also creates something a little richer profile in general and helps with search engine searches.
So you can see it's created. This is the options I have set, but it's created a narrative sentence. It's created the little 2 here, which is the inline citation. I have an option set that automatically, when you're doing a census, it'll automatically include a census table in the citation. Some people like that. Some people prefer to do it a different way. I can show you the option for that.
And I can tell you, to create that table from scratch, you will not only probably pull out the hair on your head, you'll probably pull out your eyebrows as well, because it's a very challenging thing to do with WikiTree code. And if you have no desire to learn WikiTree code, but you like the idea of a table, then Rob gives you that option.
So this is the options for tables. So the option I have set, which I think is not on by default. By default, it doesn't automatically create household tables when you create a census citation, but I have it set so that it automatically creates one after the ref, so it shows in the biography. But you can also put it with the ref, so it shows up in the citation, or you can you can kind of turn it inside out and create a table with the citation in the caption of the table. But what a lot of people do, some people don't like the tables because they think it breaks things up too much. So you have the choice instead of using a list or a sentence. So if you did a list, and then I go back to...
And the screen he's on right now is the options screen. Very easy to get to and very easy to change. You can play around with it and see which you like best.
So I could just add one underneath here. So this is a list. Oops. I think I maybe forgot to save this. Currently, you have to save whenever you change anything. I might change that. So here we'll do a narrative with citation using a list. And delete the one I just did. There we go. So that's a list. And for good measure, I could show you what the option looks like if you say sentence. So save that, go back to Peter and create a narrative with citation. Go back here and we'll have the final option. Now, if we preview, you can see here's the 1851 census with the table. This is what it looks like with just a list. And this is what it looks like with a sentence. So the sentence just basically describes everyone in the household. The list gives you a list of everyone in the household, and then the table gives you the full table. There are a bunch of options to control this sentence too, like whether the sentence should include the occupation, the age, and so on. In this particular case, Ancestry didn't transcribe the occupation, But you can say, if you don't want the age there, there's an option to change that. Those are under the narrative tab.
And I will tell you that you will spend a lot of time in these options and play around with what feels comfortable to you, and then do exactly like Rob did. Use even the same source on a profile and look at it and see which one you like best. I personally do love the tables, especially if the family starts to repeat names, like two brothers will have repeat names of their kids and things like that. So I like to see the tables. For me, I put them in the sources. That's my option. So for those who like to just read the data, they can read the data. And those that are visual like me and want to see the tables down below, then I have them in sources. But you know that that's the benefit of all the options that Rob has given us. So this is really a powerful way to provide information to the reader.
Yeah. And so for the narrative, there are options for different types as well. So there's a bunch of general options, and then for a particular a census narrative, you can control whether to include the occupation in the main sentence, a separate following sentence. There's a whole ton of different ways of doing it. So you can see that I could just go through my Ancestry profile here, just click on each of these, say create a narrative with citation, and it would add all of these different things. Here's an example of a death registration. So this is the England and Wales Civil Death Index. It's not for the England project, it's not considered the primary source. Well, not the best source for the deaths in England. A better source is the GRO. So what I could do is instead of copying that source over from Ancestry to WikiTree, I could instead say find this on the GRO, and it'll say find the same collection for the same record. So it'll actually use the volume number and the page number there, and look it up using that. So even if it was a John Smith, okay, so.
And this kind of goes back to Stephen. It'd be nice if all these sites were free, but
they're not. GRO is free, but you do have to log in. So because I'm logged in, it didn't work, but now I'm logged in.
And keep in mind, he is searching from Ancestry to the source that the England project prefers.
Yeah. So this, because even if this guy's name was John Smith, because it copied the volume number and the page number, the exact record, it would find it.
And again, he did not type anything in. He clicked. Because the program that he designed automatically will carry that data over. So you're not transposing numbers or letters or trying to remember something and having to go back to make sure you got it right. You're not, keying in any information. It's there for you.
And if it had multiple hits here, you can just click next to the one you want, but you don't need to if there's only one. So then you can just say build narrative with citation for that. And we're going to cite the GRO instead of Ancestry. So we'll just paste that in. Preview, and you can see it says Peter's death was registered in this quarter, 1911, in this district. And it puts his death registration thing. And I actually spent a lot of time, I don't know if it was really necessary, but for every district, it'll actually, if you want to know, well, what county is Barton upon Irwell in? GRO doesn't tell you, but if you click on that, there's this site called UKBMD that has a list of all the districts. And I've come up with a rather trial and error way that now seems to work 99% of the time to find the right link. And it will describe.
That's a tremendous amount of time that was spent doing that too. Let's play the next bingo card. And then what I want to do is I want to see if Rob will show us the one feature that I use quite a bit. And you call it edit merge. I call it updating. But let's play the bingo card first. And I know we have a couple questions. So while everybody gets their bingo card up, let me see if I can cycle through some of these questions. So Rob, is there an app on the sourcing app that abbreviates the source if used more than once in the same profile? I know for the United States, a lot of times we have 4 marriages for the same people. But that's what we would pick and choose which source we would use, right?
Yeah. So because you're just basically pasting in a source at a time, that there isn't an obvious way to do that I can think of. But if there's a specific use case people can think of that they would like it to do, I could look at that. Typically, I created a different extension before this called WikiTree AGC, which does a lot of that, which is cleaning up GEDCOM profiles, and it gives you a lot of options as to whether you want to cite the same source multiple times. But yeah, that might be something that would fit better in the WikiTree browser extension, which is the other.
Yeah, that might be a good thing. Let's, I'm putting up some of your comments too. I did a search and added range up to year 2026, then errored. Where was the search at, Stephen? And I do agree. I know Hillary and Katie have both mentioned that they're not a fan of the census tables, but now the list, and Hillary mentioned that she uses the list option. And I think I'm going to switch to that as well for the profiles that aren't in my direct line. But for those that are in my direct line, I really do love the table. Oh, so that was in family search. Okay. I'm not sure how to answer that one.
So yeah, it's a good time to mention if people have find bugs, as you mentioned, there's one way to report bugs is just to go to the WikiTree Sourcer page and add a comment on the bottom, so I get notified if that happens. If you already want to be a heavy tester, I have my own Discord server with a bunch of people, a bunch of users from WikiTree, where we have an ongoing discussion about bugs and things like that.
And I think Marty helps you as well on that. Pop up her notes. And Carol said that that's not what she meant, that for the sources, there's one source like a will, but mentioned more than once. I'm still not understanding, I don't think, completely.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can certainly do that. I guess what you're talking about is named references. So by default, when I create an inline citation, I don't put a name on the reference. So if you wanted to use that inline citation in multiple places in the profile, I think that's what Carol's asking for, but I'm not sure.
I think, Carol, let's play, help us out. And then if we don't answer your question, I can attest that Rob does answer, does provide an answer. And I reported something that wasn't working on my system, and he instantly answered and got me back an answer very quickly. So the same for Susan too. She's still watching and can't get Sourcer to work on your Mac. It might be a case of just not turned on.
It's getting that date in the future is because if you search for someone and you don't know their death date, but you know their birth date, it'll add like 120 years to the birth date as the range to search, depending on what kind of search you're doing. So there's a lot of different kinds of search. So that's probably some case I had to catch. Probably shouldn't put any later than the present day.
And I agree, Carol. With Gina, I think that the WBE, the browser extension, does that with, and I think, Gina, you're talking about the auto bio. That kind of helps clean that up as well. Oh, I know. Okay. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, I know exactly now what the ref name. So definitely, Gina's right. Use the auto bio with the WikiTree browser extension. And if you need help with that, Carol, hit me up afterwards and I'll walk you through it. You will love it as well. Okay, let's bring up your bingo cards. And again, just want to mention that you can get bingo horizontally, diagonally, vertically. The first person who types bingo in the chat is the winner for that. I will show you how to get your prize afterwards. It's a really nice WikiTree branded prize options that you have. Go ahead and click that center picture now. That's your free space. So let's go ahead and get started. Merge edit. And this is the one that right after this bingo, I'm going to ask Rob to show very quickly. So hold that thought for merge edit. I use this a lot for JEDCOMs. Template. And I think you're meaning the WikiTree curvy templates, curvy line templates with this, Rob. Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So it'll automatically create WikiTree templates rather than just plain URLs.
In Find My Paths, we talked about that is on your options.
Yeah, it supports 18 different websites, so that's one of them. And this is just another type of source.
And family search is kind of, well, we mentioned that as well. This will give me, I'll pause real quick because I think I've been moving through the words real quick. So yes, Carol, setting those ref tags, the ref name tags by hand is a nuisance. You will love the auto bio and the WikiTree browser extension. I will say, Rob, that I guess since October, since the Hacktoberfest, really since October, all of you that have been helping and developing and creating the apps have worked so hard to bring us so many good little finds of tools and tips.
Yeah, I spent a bit of time on the WikiTree browser extension during Hacktoberfest, but I kind of have such a full-time job on Source, I haven't spent much time on it, developed on it since. But yeah, I moved the AGC extension into that.
The AGC extension that Rob talks about, unfortunately, we won't have time to talk about it or show it this time, and I really wish we did. But that is a lifesaver. So if you have those messy, really, really, really long JEDCOMs that are thrown in from years ago on WikiTree, Rob has created this button. You click on it, the AGC, and what it does is it removes the JEDCOM junk that we're used to calling it, formats your profile for you, makes it nice and clean and easy to read. And if it is unsourced, it will automatically add the unsourced tag with it. That is in WikiTree browser as well. And anytime you have a messy JEDCOM profile, that little button can appear. It's also an option in your WikiTree browser extension, which again is a separate item completely. Okay, and we've talked about links, and records. We've talked about records. You're pulling the actual citations from the record pages.
Yeah. Yeah, typically it's best to create a citation from a record, like on Ancestry or Family Search, rather than the image. But if there is only an image, you can create the citation from the image also.
And Ancestry, we've talked about that as well. And you have several different locations of Ancestry products.
Yeah, well, Ancestry has ancestry.com, .co.uk and things. So I have a few little things in Source to help with that. When you can tell it which you subscribe to, and then when you do a search on Ancestry, it will go to the right place. And it also, if you're looking at an existing profile and someone linked to ancestry.com, but you're on ancestry.co.uk, there's a context menu option that will take you to it on your site. Yep. And Irish Genealogy, that was the latest sites I added. There's 3 different sites for Ireland, free sites. I added a couple of weeks ago.
I know a few Irish that were very happy with that too. In marriage, this is just another way you can kind of drill down and be more specific, or you can create the citation for the marriage. Like I said, I know that a lot of people, when they do profiles, if they do sourcing, they like to do a birth, a marriage, a military, and a death, and this kind of falls into it.
FreeBMD is a UK free site for the birth, marriage, and death records. That's one of the supported ones.
Okay, just so everybody knows in the chat, Sharon has a bingo, but keep playing. So never close down your bingo card. And the reason why Sharon said keep playing is she's a recent winner of bingo. And you have to wait 6 months until you can win again. So find it grave. And I again mentioned that a lot of you ask how certain people in the Connect-a-thon can put up such high numbers. And almost all of the ones that are using or have a higher number are using the Find a Grave in conjunction with the Sorcerer app.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I mentioned this open source. So another programmer from Poland added support for this Genetica site a few months ago.
And this is great. So, Rob has created the framework. If anybody out there is a developer, what is the program created in?
Well, it's written in JavaScript, and GitHub is the location of open source software on the web. So it's all available in GitHub.
So after this program, if you do not have Sorcerer installed already, then we've provided the page in the description and a couple times in the chat. Trust me, Sorcerer will be your best friend. And we had a couple bingos and they said keep playing, and there's a reason, because they had won bingo before. So let me see. I'm going to need everybody's help. It looks like Donna won bingo just before Hillary. Got it. I'm so sorry, Hillary. And I'm so glad Hillary's here with the England project, because I do know that Sorcerer has a couple specific options for the European market, that the US handles things a little different. And dare I mention the middle name? So I know that you in the options, you do have the ability to change how you want to display. So let me congratulate Donna on the bingo win. And this is fabulous. And I will mention Donna is also an Appalachian. I said it. And the way that you can get your prize is by emailing Eowyn and letting her know that you won bingo with Rob. And she will get you all hooked up. She will send you the link to the store. If you want to take a sneak peek, go to our main bingo space page. And at the top, there's a very, very tiny, tiny link to the WikiTree's store. If you do not win a prize, but you just really got to have a shirt or a mug or anything like that, you can go to WikiTree's store at any time in order for yourself. But for Donna, who's won, and also for Phil from New Zealand, who won with Rob, you're going to email Eowyn, and she's going to hook you up with the information that you need to claim your prize. Real quick, and I know I want to say thank you to everybody who has hung in here with us. If Rob will just show very, very quickly, it doesn't even have to be a profile that really needs updated. But let's say that you have a profile, and I typically use it for those old GEDCOM ones. And it could be one where the information is kind of iffy on WikiTree. It might only have like 1880 for the birth, and it might not even have a death. It might have a location, but it might not. It doesn't have anything going on in the biography except a lot of GEDCOM junk that I'm going to get rid of anyway. But if I go look on Ancestry or Family Search, I notice all the information is there. So what do I do? Do I go to Ancestry and Family Search and, cut and paste the birth or remember the birth and come over to WikiTree and type it in manually? No, I don't have to do any of that. To update an entire profile, what I call the top part of the profile, I go to my record on Ancestry, for example.
Yeah, so for example, this is the guy I just added from Ancestry. Let's see if there's a thing for him on Family Search as well. I don't have to spend a lot of time on Family Search, Family Tree, but there is an option to search the Family Search, Family Tree for this person. So you can see that this one down here looks like the right person that we just added. So let's go to this guy, the person.
And again, what we're trying to do is just get more complete information on WikiTree, because a lot of times for the older accounts, people did things like guess or on Ancestry, and they typed in something, or they found a green leaf that may or may not be right, and it doesn't have the full information. So all you have to do is go find that particular profile, and it's edit merge. I
Well,
think,
first,
right?
so you do the same way if you were adding a profile. The first thing you do is go to the other site, like Family Search, and you do save person data. And then we go back to Peter Wolstenholme, and we do
And
merge.
what you guys notice, he didn't click edit. I love this feature. It does it automatically.
So I've been showing you adding from person data, but you can actually add a new profile or do merge edit from any record. It doesn't have to be a person, but we're going to merge from this Family Search person data. So what it does is it brings up this. This is showing you the current thing in WikiTree, and this is showing what came from the external data from Family Search. So you can see the birth date. That's interesting. I thought the birth date had a bit more. So here's birth date that. Maybe I need to test this a bit more, but I would have thought it would have given me a better birth date.
Oh, I don't know where that's coming from, because it's not down in the bottom. That's really weird. That's a Family Search strange thing going on, because it shows it's not showing the birth where you're probably used to picking it up. So I don't know how Family Search is showing it up top.
Yeah, there's a bit of a weirdness going on there. But so what this does is it's showing you the location. So it's showing from Family Search, you had the death location of Worsley, Lancashire, whereas in what I currently have on WikiTree, it just says death location of Lancashire because it came from a death registration, which doesn't really tell you where they died. Of course, there's no reason to believe that this is
That's why. It only is a christening. Thank you, guys.
So you can see there's a difference, and you'd probably want to like go back to your Family Search and say, well, do they really have a good source for where he died? And I guess you'd have to look into the sources for that. But yeah, so it's basically a quick way of updating the data fields. It doesn't really do much with the biography.
It's not really going to add a source or anything. It might add the tag, the link back to Ancestry or Family Search.
Automatically adding this C also for Family Search.
But in my mind, this is updating that top half, and he didn't even have to go into the edit screen when he did it. He saved the person data over in Ancestry or Family Search, came over to the WikiTree profile, didn't even have to hit edit, went back up to his logo, the number 1, and it clicked, it was edit merge. So it updates your information easy peasy. Again, I love it because I tend to transpose numbers.
I don't this is basically using a WikiTree feature that's used when you merge profiles, but so this this page already exists. I'm just filling it, bringing it up and filling out the information from the Family Search profile or whatever record you're citing.
Okay, and then one last thing, I'm going to remove the screen real quick. One last thing that I want to talk about before we wrap things up. Rob's Sorcerer app is fantastic for getting that information and creating the citations from these different databases that are holding it and bringing it over into WikiTree. I want to make sure everybody understands it is our responsibility to make sure that whatever source we're using with Sorcerer is a good and accurate and valid source for that person. And I want to mention that usually before a connectathon, you will not see me on WikiTree hardly at all. For about 2 weeks prior to a connectathon, I'm spending my time either on Ancestry or Family Search or both, cleaning up sources, making sure the sources are accurate to the person that I am going to eventually bring over into WikiTree, making sure that the kids and the spouses and the parents all match. but I look through those sources quite heavily before I even get to the Sorcerer app. So the Sorcerer app is my last step in the process of making sure that I've got a valid, sourced properly, and documented profile into WikiTree. And I hope that this helped everybody as well. I know that I always learned so much from you guys. And with the Sorcerer app, again, I remember when you brought it on, and it to me felt like it was a gigantic project that you worked on, and it gave me so much more. And it like you said, every month you're doing little minor updates and adding to it. And keep in mind that Rob is, volunteering his time and putting this work into the Sorcerer so we can get I really feel like we can get true source citations over. It makes it easier for those that are new to genealogy and or WikiTree, and it makes it easier for those of us that like having that concise consistency of what your sources do for us. They look the same throughout our profiles.
Yeah, and there's obviously a lot of people prefer different formats for sourcing, but there's in the options you can change a lot about how the citations look.
And that's a really good point. So again, after this weekend, here are your marching orders. Go make sure you have installed the Sorcerer app. If you already have it, go play around with the options. Pick one census or birth or death for one profile, but I would pick a census and play around with the options that he has, because there's so many different things that you can do with it. Play around with those tables. Do you like the tables, the list, or the sentences? Play around with what do you want to see for the biography. He's got so many good options that you can pick and customize to what you would like to see on your profiles. And anytime you have any question or something is not working for you, Rob is so good about responding. That page that we already put up and it's in the description for his main Sorcerer page, he answers so quickly. He does sleep, believe it or not. And I need to also say that he has 2 kitty cats behind him that have been pretty quiet. Or did you kick them out?
Well, I think they're still there.
They're still there. So I'm pretty impressed.
The brown one's blending in, but the white one's visible.
So we brought cats and dogs to our bingo tonight. And for those of you that have watched live and hung out with us, thank you so much. You guys are what makes this enjoyable for us as well, so we can answer your questions and find out what information or what sources that you're looking at. For those of you that are watching us after the fact, we appreciate you too. And if you have any questions or any information that you need, both Rob and I are on Discord, and you can reach out to us on our profiles or on Rob's Sorcerer page if you have a particular question about the app or want him to add another country database. So I think that's a wrap then. Wouldn't you say, Rob?
Yeah, I think so. I was just going to mention, I mentioned the video I had on YouTube. I keep meaning to create some more videos because there's so much in Sorcerer now, like describing all the search options and things, but I'm so busy adding things I haven't got around to creating a video yet.
And maybe we can convince you to come back and do something for WikiTree Day in November too.
Yeah.
We'll do that too. Okay, guys, have a great weekend. Thank you again for joining us. I do want to mention that the next bingo in 2 weeks, we are celebrating Canada early. Oh, Canada. We've got Canada for both bingos and very special projects for each bingo that we're having. And then after that, in the next 2 weeks, we are going to talk more tech. We've got Greg Clark coming back to us talking about X-Friends app, as well as Jonathan, who worked on the WBE, the WikiTree browser extension, talking about accessibility options, which has been a huge topic that everybody has been asking me to bring on. So we've got a lot going on, but guess what? In between our bingo, Friday date night. So don't forget to hang out with Julie then as well. Have a great weekend. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.